Hi kids, and welcome to day 10 of Learning the Lord is My Shepherd, the 23rd Psalm. I wanted to finish this video this week so that you guys can work on these first 5 verses that we've learned. So remember the other day we learned the first part of verse 5, and I said for 5 we can do fingers like this. You set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Now we're going to continue on with verse 5, which says, you pour oil on my head and my cup runs over. So we had verse 5, you set a table for me in the presence of my enemies, and you pour oil on my head, my cup runs over. It's kind of another weird verse, right? Like, what does that mean to have oil poured on our head? It sounds gross. It's not something that we talk about nowadays. We don't often pour oil on someone's head. If anything, we want to get rid of oil. But in the Bible, we often see oil being used when somebody was declared to be a priest or a king. And even in the New Testament, they talk about oil being used in a prayer for healing. So those are all uses of what oil is in the biblical sense. But as well, this is talking about a shepherd for his sheep. And I read an interesting article that talked about a shepherd using oil when he's protecting his sheep. So it might be a kind of bug repellent to help protect the sheep so that they don't get too bothered by bugs. It might be used as a way of healing sheep, or even as a way for the sheep when they fight against each other and they butt heads. That oil on the sheep makes them so that they just move right off and it protects them. So it's interesting to think of the shepherd's use of oil as well. And the second part, you make my cup run over. It's just that beautiful picture again of having an abundance, of having more than what we need. So usually when we have a cup, I wouldn't really want it to run over outside, but if we put a cup and then somebody needs to be putting something into it, right? So it's God providing those things. He puts water and gives us so much of what we need that it overflows and it runs over. So verse 5, you set a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil and my cup runs over. Let's draw that as a picture, as a way again for you guys to continue to remember this. All right, so here we are, verse 5, and last time we drew a picture of the table, and God prepares that table for us in the presence of our enemies. It continues on with, you anoint my head with oil, or you pour oil on my head, my cup runs over. So if we do that, we'll just draw just the big part, right? You pour oil, so maybe just a little container of oil. You pour oil on my head, and then we have a cup. My cup runs over. But I was thinking when I was doing this, right, here's our drips coming out, but it's because God is putting something into our cup. So here he is filling our cup so much that it runs over. So you prepare a table for me, you prepare a feast for me right in front of my enemies. You pour oil on my head, my cup runs over. So again, I was saying those wrong words because of what I had learned as a kid, but you prepare a feast for me right in front of my enemies. You pour oil on my head, my cup runs over. And that's verse 5. All right, so that's Psalm 23, and out of 6 verses, we've now worked on 5. I haven't highlighted today's yet, but we've learned 1 through 5, and next week I'll work on verse 6 with you guys. So again, verse 5, you prepare a feast for me right in front of my enemies. You pour oil on my head, my cup runs over. Keep working on that, guys, and all the other verses too, and we'll talk to you again soon. Have a good day. Bye.